All right, what's going on, guys? Graham G. Matthews here with BleacherReport.com and FanSided Daily DDT. And today we're talking to Impact Wrestling star Tenille Dashwood about all things BrandArmy, her current time with Impact, and everything else going on in the world right now. Tenille, what's going on? Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm excited to be able to talk about, all the exciting things in the world, other than all the bad things that we're hearing and talking about. So, yeah, let's talk about some positive things.
Yeah, exactly. Take a bit of a break from the negativity for right now. I know we just spoke like off air a second ago. Unfortunately, couldn't make the Impact tapings this past weekend due to testing positive for COVID. Hopefully, you're feeling better now. We can expect you at the next set of tapings coming up next month. So, does that mean that the Impact Knockouts Tag Team Title match has been put off for another little while? Because I know the Inspiration had to miss the last set of tapings because they got COVID as well.
Yeah, so it's a bit of it's just like this long tease now,
Yeah.
which will make it that much better when it actually happens, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's scheduled for February now, and I don't see why this one won't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Unless there's some other, outside circumstance preventing that from happening. I'm sure we'll get it in February. So we can look forward to it then. But in the meantime, like I said, you're part of the Brand Army family, as are they. And we'll talk a little bit about them in a little bit. But to kind of get started here, for those not familiar with Brand Army, can you talk a little bit about your involvement with Brand Army and how it kind of came about and kind of what you're doing on the service, so to speak?
Yeah, so I initially heard about BrandArmy through Jess and Cass, and basically I had been in contact with a few different platforms as far as having my own content put out to the public on, like a place where everyone can access it, other than Instagram or
Mhm.
Twitter, or for instance, more exclusive content, and for a while I kind of had this idea in my head, but I wasn't really necessarily happy with other platforms that were approaching me, and then once Brand Army kind of presented itself, it just seemed like the perfect thing for me, and kind of having Jess and Cass to base off, I could see that it was working well for them too, so it all just came about in that way.
And I know a big part of it too is like that fan engagement. Was that like one of the biggest things about it that kind of stood out from the rest of the services that you were talking about that kind of intrigued you to join Brand Army as opposed to another service?
Yeah, I definitely like the that aspect of it. I have like an amazing fan base, and I'm very lucky that I have throughout my whole career. They've been very supportive. Um, all my fans know that I love to obviously wrestle, but I also travel for a living, and post a lot about my travels and that lifestyle. So many places I go and all these things I do, I always have all this extra footage in my phone and extra photos from photographers that I was not using. And there was so much more I wanted to kind of get across to people without bombarding everyone. So this gives people the chance to be a part of it if they choose to. And then that way, it's a more authentic relationship because people are excited and want to be part of my life and what I'm doing, and in return I want to them to be a part of it and to kind of be excited together about the things I'm doing.
And kind of just going off of that as well, you talked about, the engagement and kind of being able to share your life with your fans. I know we spoke previously about a year ago during your time with Impact, a little bit towards the beginning of your stint there. All the vlogging that you do, obviously you're a big travel vlogger. Does this kind of go along with that as well in terms of sharing where you're going and what you're doing in the world, not just your everyday life, but as far as where you're traveling and whatnot?
Yeah, exactly. It kind of encompasses all of that. So, um, over November, December, I was in Abu Dhabi doing a trip with the tourism board there.
Hmm.
I was doing all kinds of like exciting activities and adventures and experiencing the culture there. So that's something I was able to share with everyone, and a lot more than I can with like one or two posts on Instagram here and there. It's a much more kind of real, authentic, in the moment experience. And then same thing with the wrestling. I can show some backstage things in the moment while I'm there.
Mhm.
I can show, um, you know, from my photo shoots, behind the scenes stuff. Oh, I'm shooting today. I'm excited. Like I can involve everyone. Whereas I don't want to do that on Instagram or Twitter, because I don't want it to seem too much,
Yeah.
or to kind of, I want people to want to be involved in it. So that's what this platform is perfect for. Yeah, for the real fans.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, that's what I was kind of ask as well. Is there like a difference, not in terms of demographic, but in terms of like, not the type of fans, but I guess in terms of like the reaction that you're getting from fans? Because I feel like with social media, there's so much like toxicity and negativity, and anyone can see or respond to anything. I feel like this kind of limits down as far as like the real fans, like you were saying, as far as kind of encouraging a more, more engagement and more, positive engagement and that sort of thing.
Totally, I agree. It's like the perfect environment to speak with and be enthusiastic about things with people that want to support you and want to see you do well.
Hmm.
So of course, I'm going to want to share more with those people. So yeah, it's very cool to be able to show all the behind the scenes, show the everyday things, and then show the exciting things that maybe you wouldn't know that I'm doing through looking at my other social media.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I guess I forgot to ask before, but when was the initial point in which you joined the service?
BrandArmy, I only just started with, this is my second month now.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're still relatively new. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, and had a crazy first month. Very happy with that success there and all the support I'm getting. So I've actually recruited a few other people to the platform now, and I just see this as like a big opportunity for everyone to kind of exclusively interact with their special fans.
Anyone you can share as far as who's joining the service soon or not yet?
Ooh. Um, I don't know if I can say too much. But my tag partner, Madison Rain, did join
Oh,
recently. So
awesome.
she's in her first couple weeks still. And then there is someone else very close to me, or to say that, people probably know who, that is, it's all in the works for. So that's exciting. And I think she will do very, very well.
That's perfect. No, I feel like people like the inspiration, like yourself, Madison as well. I mean, this perfectly fits what we see from you on TV. I know that the character is obviously just an extension of you in real life, but it just kind of fits it so perfectly. And I was going to ask as far as when you joined the service, because in the last year I mean, we're still in the midst of a pandemic, obviously, still people getting sick, and it seems like it's worse now than it has been at any other point. But travel restrictions have kind of lifted, and you've been able to go to a lot more places than you were than when we spoke in late 2020. Can you talk a little bit about that and all the places you've been able to go and experience, and how awesome that's been for you to go to all these places? I mean, obviously, you were doing that pre-pandemic, but to go back to that lifestyle recently.
Yeah, so I was quite fortunate in the sense that, for one, I didn't get sick until recently.
Yeah, yeah.
So I managed to stay safe and avoid it. And and obviously, I wasn't traveling while I was unwell. But I was lucky in a sense that there were places that you could travel to still, as long as you abided by the guidelines, and
Hmm.
that was having the vaccination, testing before you go, and on arrival sometimes too. And so as long as you're aware of all those precautions and abide by that, then it is possible to still do things. So I was just kind of finding opportunities for places that I would like to visit and that I was able to visit, and just trying to make the most of it. And then I kind of got lucky with some of the timing, because obviously, I went to Europe last year, and I went around Paris and Italy, and I went to near London. But like in the time, I think we had just come off restrictions, and then they were maybe about to impose them again. So I just
Yeah.
got lucky with some of them as well.
Yeah.
It does take a lot of planning, a lot of room for error, or room for maybe things to get postponed or delayed and have to fix it. But that's all part of it. It's all part of the fun. I have some exciting travels coming up. Soon I'll be going to Dubai
Oh,
for the
nice.
first time, so I'm very excited for that. And I'll be getting like all kinds of cool, crazy content. When I was in Abu Dhabi, I went skydiving, and I shared like the full video exclusively on my page,
That's crazy.
as well as some of like the cultural sites, and then just some of the experiences and nights out, like all kinds of stuff that I wouldn't put everywhere else. But Dubai, I think, is kind of next level again. So there's like all kinds of like thrill experiences I want to do, and I'll be with Danielle, Summer Rae, like one of
Yeah.
my best friends. So I just think it's going to be a really fun trip. I've got lots of big things with hotels that I'm
Mhm.
working with, and brands. So yeah, it's very exciting, and I think the fans will love seeing all that content.
Yeah, Dubai, I'm sure is going to be awesome. How was the skydiving? Have you done that before? Like, what was your mindset going into that?
So I first went skydiving when I was 14 with my older brother. So I was very young, and then I hadn't done it since. So it
Yeah.
just felt like doing it again for the first time, basically. And I feel like I was almost maybe more scared this time than I was when I was 14. You kind of
Yeah.
have no fears really when you're young. You're just like,
Mhm.
whatever. Which I still am to a degree, because like Danielle, for instance, refuses to do it, period.
I would be the same way. I totally understand
Like
that.
I
Yeah.
just, I could die. It's just not happening. I love my life too much, And I'm like,
Yeah.
when you say it like that, fair enough. But um, I don't know. For me, it's kind of like I still have a fear. I'm still scared, but I like to overcome that. I like to
Yeah.
feel courageous. So yeah, the actual jump was crazy, like with adrenaline and excitement. And then it's like when you kind of slowly like traveling up in the air to whatever it is, 15,000 feet or something. And then all of a sudden it just goes, they go like this, okay, time to go. And you start like, the guy's like attached to my back and he starts scooting me towards like the open door. And then
Yep.
you just sit on the ledge. And then it's like within seconds you're going. So it's like that moment of like 10 seconds. It's like you go from, am I really going to do this, to, oh my God, it's happening. And then next second you're just flying out of a plane.
That's crazy. Is it something that you would recommend, or is it obviously depends on the person, right?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. I think it's, excuse me. I think it's like a crazy, like this excitement, but you feel like you overcome a fear as well, which is a cool feeling for me anyway.
That's funny. I mean, that kind of segues perfectly going into the next thing. I mean, I feel like everything you just said can be perfectly applied to, especially with wrestling too. I mean, being a former WWE superstar yourself, we see people now get released or people leave willingly or whatever. The inspiration being two of those people having departed just last year. It can be a big thing knowing that there is or isn't life outside of WWE. And obviously we know now there is. I mean, obviously you're now with Impact, the
Yeah.
inspiration of joined BrandArmy as well. Can you talk a little bit about that as being, I mean, ahead of the curve as far as like, you've been gone from WWE for 4 or 5 years now. You know all about the life outside of WWE. Can you kind of relate that feeling to the skydiving thing, being a little bit scared as far as what's out there, but kind of finding your footing within a matter of months? I mean, you were with Ring of Honor almost immediately afterward.
Yeah. Well, I think there's different mindsets, isn't there? So some people can leave the WWE and it's hard for them to find their footing.
Yep.
Whereas for me, I guess in ways I already prepared myself for that day. So
Hmm.
I knew inevitably I'm going to not work for WWE eventually. And when that time comes, am I going to pick up everything I have and move back to Australia and start again? No,
Hmm.
that's not what I want. So I prepared myself and I started to get ready. So that was starting businesses on the side. That was investing in things. That was setting up my travel and lifestyle, my social media in that direction as
Hmm.
well, so that I could continue with all the things that I loved and enjoyed, especially things that I found out that I loved through WWE, which was the travel mainly.
Hmm.
And in the WWE, we were so busy and on such a tight schedule that I often went places and didn't have time to enjoy them or experience them. So I just always thought like, I always tried to, like I would, if I had 2 hours, like you would see me doing a tour in 2 hours. Like I would
That's
try my
crazy.
best. But for me, it was like, okay, not everyone has this opportunity to do these things. And that's pretty amazing that I am lucky enough to have that. So I wanted to always just take advantage of every opportunity. And that's where it turned into, okay, well, if I'm not with WWE now and I have this more relaxed schedule in waves, or
Yeah.
in chunks rather than all through the week,
Hmm.
then I can travel a little bit more. So I was like, okay, now I've got to make the most of it. So if I want to, and like straight off WWE, I was like, okay, now I can wrestle in other countries and go explore. So I went and wrestled in Germany, and remember I wrestled Tony Storm in like the first main event the women had done in Germany.
That's
And like
awesome.
for me, I was like, I'm doing it, I'm really doing it. I'm still doing it. And that was like kind of what kept driving me, is like, I can do these things and I'm proving it to myself. Just like I did getting my job with WWE in the first place. Like I'm kind of being my own example and saying, if I've got this far and I made that happen, then why can't I do this? Then why can't I do that?
Yeah.
So I have this kind of big dream and big goals, and I just find a way to make it happen, really.
Yeah. And
Um, so,
obviously you have. Yeah.
so yeah, basically, I made sure that I was set up and that I could continue doing things I love, like the travel, and now working with the tourism boards, it's starting to kind of pay it back to me.
Yeah.
So all the hard work and the years of kind of setting up eventually pays off.
I mean, did you ever imagine you'd be living the life that you are right now with all this stuff that you're doing, not just with Impact, but everything that you just mentioned, the tourism board and, BrandArmy sort of stuff? Some of the stuff wasn't even possible even 5 years ago. Like, would you have ever imagined this upon towards the end of your time in WWE?
No, I never would have imagined. And for a long time, I say it, I feel like people are often kind of in this bubble when they're in WWE.
Yep.
And and I mean, I had an amazing career there, and I'm very grateful for it. And I just think, because people, say, "Do you wish you could go back, or do you have any hard feelings?" And I don't. And I just think that was perfect for that part of my life then, and
Yep.
what I'm doing right now is perfect for me now. And obviously, that influenced where I am now. So I'm just grateful journey, really, and kind of seeing what I've kind of been able to take on or overcome as I go.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, it's such a great attitude to have because I feel like that's maybe it's not rare. I feel like we're seeing that more now, but I feel like there's a lot of people coming off. And again, there's a lot of people that aren't as grateful for other reasons, and that totally makes sense depending on the situation. But to have a positive attitude coming out of an outlook is very refreshing. I mean, do you have these same conversations with people that are either towards the end of their time there or coming out of there? Everything you just said, are you kind of telling them that same thing, saying, listen, there are these other opportunities, not just other companies you can work for, but other
Yeah.
things you can do and pursue your passions and stuff like BrandArmy.
Oh yeah, I'm very big on trying to encourage and motivate other people to know that there is life outside of it, to know that it's okay if things don't work out the way that you'd planned for them to work out, and that there's, if you have that kind of drive and determination and you put in the hard work, that it can be possible. So it's finding, I guess the whole thing is that I try to stress to people is, don't just limit yourself to that. Like, you're able to do so many more things, and you'll eventually, people can see it once they kind of get out of that bubble. They'll
Yeah.
have this whole reset of like, wow, I can do anything, and that's a cool kind of stage to be in, and that's when you need to capitalize on it, which Cassie and Jess have done by jumping on the BrandArmy bandwagon, and of course all the other things they're doing, as well as their career outside of wrestling. So they're capitalizing on it at the perfect time. So it's just being smart. It's just having that drive and putting in the effort and the hard work, because it's not easy either.
Yeah.
People think that it's like, oh, you must have a nice life not working and just traveling. It's like, no, I worked hard to travel, and
Yeah.
when I travel, I'm working still.
Yeah.
It's not just all for fun. And though, like, the parts that they see are fun, the amount of time I spend setting trips up and looking into a destination and learning about it, and the back and forths, and the stuff I do back here in America to make that even possible. Like, there's just so much more that goes into it. And I have other jobs and investments and things on the side that I don't even need to share with other people, because it's my business.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but the fact that some people can think that people in my situation, or like Jess and Cassie's, don't work their asses off to let that be possible, that's a bit delusional to me.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like
like
those
that.
people are
Yeah.
where they are because of how hard they worked.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I feel like that's the general perception of some people, of like the minority of people, again, coming from the toxicity of social media, that being a part of a service like BrandArmy kind of eliminates that. I mean, I feel like people that sign up for the service and see everything that you do through social media can totally understand it's a job at the end of the day. You're enjoying it because it's your passion. But I mean,
Yeah.
work is work. I mean, it's hard work. It doesn't make it any easier just because, I mean, I guess it makes it a little bit easier if you enjoy it, but still, it's
Yeah,
still work at the
exactly.
end of the day.
But I made sure that I went after something that I knew that I would enjoy and want to do.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole part, is like, you have these options of getting stuck in something you hate and
Yeah.
you don't enjoy, or going after something you have true passion for and making that a reality. And that's what I chose to do. And that's what I think many people can do, whether it's, how big or how small the idea is, but there's ways to go after your own happiness. And I think that's important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like you've definitely created this groundwork in a way, kind of setting the stage a little bit for people like that in a similar situation, not just in WWE. I mean, life in general. I mean, again, that's very inspirational, positive, motivation stuff that you can share with people in that same situation. I mean, going back to the inspiration for a bit, again, they're also a part of BrandArmy. When you see them leave WWE, there's got to be a part of you that's excited, like, I'm looking forward to working with them again. I mean, I think, did you guys ever really cross paths in WWE towards the end there, or not really?
No, I think we did a couple matches at NXT, like
Okay.
not even against each other really, but like on the same team.
Yeah.
So and we've known each other back from in Australia when we all wrestled when we were young, out there. So the idea of like all of us being able to work together was kind of like, wow, we never really imagined this again, especially on a different platform, like
Yeah.
outside of WWE. It was like, wow, it just goes to show like anything's possible. So and that at that point, I think we even, kind of addressed the idea of being, maybe working on the same team and
Yep.
all the things, the possibilities, and then it's kind of gone almost the opposite way where we're still interacting, but we both have our own things going on, and it's just it's just fun, really. Um, and it's cool to see other people. I love seeing other people succeed and be happy and go after all these things. So it's just fun for me too.
I think it's been cool from a fan standpoint. I feel like when they left WWE, there's so many options as far as where people can go nowadays from a wrestling standpoint. I think people kind of sleep on Impact a little bit. And I mean, for me personally, I felt like that was the perfect fit for them, not only just because you were there and the interactions that could stem from it that we've seen so far on TV, but just especially with that knockouts division, there's such a wealth of talent there right now. I mean, we just had the first ever female X division match, or the Ultimate X match rather, a couple of months ago, or just a couple of weeks ago, actually, at Hard to Kill. So it's cool to see. What can people expect from the upcoming title match? We spoke earlier. I mean, it's kind of been delayed delayed a little bit as far as from month to month. What can people expect from that match when it comes to fruition?
Well, I think the interesting thing is what I just said is the fact that maybe initially we thought we would all get along, and then we didn't, and now we're kind of butting heads as far as they're the champions. But obviously, that's what I envision for myself. So I think obviously when the match comes around, that will be the most exciting part is seeing me take the championships off for them.
Yep. And that would be your first reign as Impact Knockouts Tag Team Champion, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Your first piece of gold in Impact, which is really exciting. And as we close down here, talk a little bit about your time overall in Impact and how that's been awesome for you over the last couple of years, as well as your time so far at BrandArmy. I know you said you're only in your second month, so it's
Yeah.
relatively brief, but you had a great successful first month, which is great.
Yeah, totally. Very successful first month, and like I said, with Impact, it just feels like like it's meant to be. Like it's the right place for me at the right time in my life. I'm very happy there. They're an amazing company to work with, and the people. It's just a good, positive environment. Which, if you've spoken to other people or heard other things, not every locker room is like that. Um,
Yeah.
and it's all what you make of it, because honestly my past experiences other places I enjoyed as well, so I'm not bashing anything here, but I really love where I am at this point in my career, and I'm grateful to have like my fans still supporting me and all of that. So like such dedicated fans, even after all these years away from WWE and going into my travels and all these different kind of fields.
Hmm.
I still feel very fortunate to have them supporting me. So yeah, I'm just trying to keep up that bond and that connection with all of us, and to kind of give back a little bit, my whatever it might be, by trying to encourage my fans, and offer anything I can as far as like motivation or inspiration or advice or whatever it is. Like I definitely want to give out that positivity and try help everyone.
And I'm sure you get a lot of messages from people saying, listen, I was probably never going to go to this place until you went there and I saw that you had a great time. I'm sure you get a lot of those type of messages.
Oh, I love that. And I love when friends reach out and go, hey, I'm thinking of, traveling somewhere like this. What do you recommend? And I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you. So then I like get carried away on my phone, like sending like pages and links. And yeah, I just have like a genuine passion for it. And I love like the freedom that comes with traveling, and like how much you can learn and like open your mind to things when you travel. Um, just meeting different people, seeing different cultures and opportunities. Yeah, it's just a very good, freeing feeling. So I definitely love when I get messages of people saying like that I inspired them or motivated them to do something, or they're living vicariously through me. Like I
Yeah.
take that as a compliment, and I love it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very cool for me.
That's awesome. I'll probably try out all those places at some point that you mentioned, everything except for the skydiving. I probably won't venture into that at all, but I mean, it sounds cool in a certain way, but maybe at a certain point down the road. But in the meantime, people can follow you pretty much everywhere. I mean, literally you are everywhere, figuratively and literally. But as far as social media goes, Instagram, Twitter, people can find you obviously every Thursday on Impact on Access TV. Brand Army first and foremost. I believe it's just brandarmy.com or the app. People can find you there. Specifically, where can people find you? Anything else you want to share as we wind down here?
They can just go to TenilleDashwoodWorld.com for the Brand Army, and then it's just at Tenille Dashwood for my social media pages. And yeah, that's the best way to stay in touch with me. But obviously, the Brand Army will be a much more like in-depth, kind of up-to-date portrayal of where I am, what I'm doing, and a way to like interact exclusively with me. So that's the benefit of that. And like I said, I got so many exciting things coming up. So the more people that want to be a part of that, the better.
Perfect. And Dubai's coming up next month, you said.
Yes, Dubai is next. And I mean, there's lots more after that. I won't even give it all away, but that's just the next little part of it. And lots of exciting things. So everything
Awesome.
is good in the world.
Definitely got to ignore the negative. Like we said, no need to talk about COVID and all that other stuff. Just got to focus on the positive. Love hearing that. Tenille, this has been great. Thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.